My name is Preacher. I'm 80 years old, and I want to begin with something that will be more useful to you than the reassurance the title offers, even if it is less immediately comfortable. The universe is not moving wealth toward you right now, not in the sense that phrase implies, not as a cosmic mechanism that has identified you specifically and is routing resources in your direction, regardless of what you are doing or not doing. That is not how wealth moves. Wealth does not move toward people. It moves through people, through the specific quality of what they create, how honestly they claim what their creation is worth, how clearly they see their actual situation, and how consistently they do the small, unglamorous work that produces real results over real time. None of that is cosmic. All of it is available. I know that is not what the title promised, and I know that somewhere in you there is a hope that the universe is working on your behalf, that something larger than your individual effort is rooting good things in your direction, that the waiting might soon produce its reward. I understand that hope. I have lived inside versions of it. And what I want to offer you today is not the crushing of that hope, but the redirecting of it toward something that can actually deliver what you are hoping for. Stay with me, because there is something genuinely true in the idea that wealth is moving in your direction. It is just true for a different reason than the cosmic one. I was born in northern Thailand into real material difficulty. The idea that the universe was rooting good things toward me was not a luxury I could afford for very long. Life was concrete and demanded concrete engagement. And what I learned from that concreteness, slowly and through many errors and honest observations, is that the movement of wealth toward anyone is almost always traceable, almost always the product of specific things that specific people did or stopped doing or started doing, almost always comprehensible when you look closely enough at the actual mechanism, and almost always available to be replicated by anyone who understands the mechanism and is willing to engage with it honestly. The first honest thing I want to say about wealth moving toward you is this: it moves toward the value you genuinely create. Not the value you intend to create, not the value you could create under different circumstances, the value that is actually being created right now in the actual work you are doing for the actual people who encounter it. And the amount of wealth that moves toward you is almost always more closely related to the specificity and the honesty of your understanding of that value than to any cosmic intention on your behalf. Most people have a vague and often underestimated sense of the value they create. They know in general that their work is useful. They know that people seem to benefit from it, but they have not done the specific, honest work of understanding precisely what problem they are solving, precisely how much that problem matters to the people who have it, and precisely what they would lose if that work were not available to them. That precision, when developed and held clearly, changes everything about how you engage with the financial dimension of your work. It changes what you ask for. It changes how you describe what you offer. It changes what you are willing to accept and what you know is not sufficient. And those changes, accumulated over time, produce a genuinely different trajectory. The second honest thing is that wealth moves toward honest claiming. Not aggressive claiming, not entitled claiming, honest claiming. The practice of asking for what your work actually is worth in the actual market where your work exists, rather than what feels safe to ask for, or what you have historically accepted, or what the first offer was. Most people who are not receiving the financial outcomes they want are not being withheld from primarily by a hostile market. They are withholding from themselves, consistently, in ways that feel like realism or humility, but are almost always old stories about what someone like them can reasonably expect. And here's what I didn't understand then. The market, in most cases, would support significantly more than what most people ask for. The ceiling on what they receive is not placed there by the world. It is placed there by what they ask for. And what they ask for is determined by what they believe they deserve. And what they believe they deserve was shaped by experiences and influences that had nothing to do with the actual value they now create. Changing what you ask for, which is to say changing what you claim honestly, requires first changing the story about what you deserve. And that story change, while not instant or comfortable, is genuinely available and genuinely produces different outcomes. You know what surprised me most when I began to genuinely work on the clarity and honesty of my claiming? How little resistance the world offered to what I asked for when I asked for what was actually right. The ceiling I had been accepting was not there. It had been something I was placing on myself through the habit of asking for less than what was accurate. And when I stopped placing it, the ceiling was not where I thought it was. The third honest thing is that wealth moves toward clarity about the actual financial situation. Not the hoped-for situation, not the situation as it was 6 months ago. The actual current situation, seen clearly and honestly, without the buffer of vagueness that most people maintain, because clarity is uncomfortable when what it reveals is not what you hope to find. That clarity, however uncomfortable to develop, is the foundation of genuine movement, because you cannot navigate toward anywhere useful from a position you cannot see clearly. And the clearer the position, the more specifically you can engage with what needs to change. Most people manage their financial lives with a quality of intentional vagueness that feels protective, but actually amplifies anxiety. The specific numbers, looked at directly, are almost always more manageable than the feared version that lives in the vagueness. And the specific picture of the situation, however sobering, is always more useful than the impressionistic one, because it tells you specifically what to address. The fourth honest thing is that wealth moves toward consistent small action. This is the one that most conflicts with the universe's moving wealth toward you framing, because that framing implies that the movement is happening regardless of your action. But everything I have observed across 8 decades of honest watching is that the wealth that arrives for most people is traceable directly to specific, consistent actions that preceded it. Small ones usually, unglamorous ones, things that did not feel significant in the moment, but that accumulated over months and years into something that looked, from the outside, like sudden good fortune. The person who consistently does the small, honest work of improving the quality of what they create, consistently asking for what that quality is worth, consistently looking clearly at their situation and adjusting based on what they see, consistently taking the next available step toward the financial life they want, accumulates something over time that the universe is not producing for them. They are producing it themselves. Through the reliable mechanism of consistent, honest engagement with the actual work of their actual life. What most people don't realize is that this mechanism is not less hopeful than the cosmic version. It is more hopeful, because it does not depend on the universe's cooperation. It depends on yours, and your cooperation is always available, in any moment, including this one, including the moment after this one, including all the ordinary moments that no one is watching and no cosmic narrative is being written about, but that together constitute the actual material from which a genuinely different financial life is built. The fifth honest thing, and the most important, is that the wealth that is genuinely moving toward you is the wealth that your own genuine capacity, honestly developed and honestly claimed, is capable of generating. That is not a small thing. It is not a consolation prize for the cosmic rooting not being real. It is the actual thing. The only thing that has ever produced lasting financial change for anyone I have known. Not the arrival of external blessing, the development and honest claiming of genuine capacity. Your capacity is real. It is not fixed. It grows when you invest honestly in making what you create more valuable to the people who receive it. It is available now in whatever imperfect form it currently takes. And the wealth it can generate, claimed honestly and built consistently over time, is the wealth that is actually moving toward you. Not through cosmic channels, through the specific, reliable mechanism of value created, value claimed, and value built day after ordinary day in the moments that no one else will ever see. At 80 years old, I can tell you that the financial life I have is not the product of cosmic rooting. It is the product of the specific, imperfect, honest, inconsistent, returning, trying again, gradually improving work of understanding what I could create, claiming what that was worth, looking clearly at my situation, and taking the next available step. None of that was cosmic. All of it was mine. And all of it is available to you, not because the universe is rooting wealth in your direction, but because your own genuine capacity is real and available, and can be honestly developed and claimed, starting right now, in whatever ordinary moment this is. Tell me in the comments what one specific thing you could do this week to create more value, claim it more honestly, or see your situation more clearly. Not the impressive answer, the available one. the small, concrete, specific thing that is actually possible in your actual life this week. Because that small, concrete, specific thing is where the wealth that is genuinely available to you actually begins. And if this message gave you something honest to work with, stay close to this space, because the movement of wealth toward you is built, one honest, available step at a time.